You spent 12 years in a classroom. You learned algebra, the water cycle, the dates of wars you would never fight. You memorized the layers of the earth, the names of dead poets, the formula for calculating the area of a triangle. But no one, not one teacher, in 12 years ever sat you down and taught you how money works, how interest compounds, how debt is designed, how the system you work inside every day was built, and by whom, and why you were never supposed to understand it. That was not an oversight, that was the plan. And by the end of this video, you will have the evidence to prove it. This is Beyond Stories. In the early 1800s, Prussia, modern-day Germany, faced a crisis that threatened its very existence. Napoleon Bonaparte had humiliated them on the battlefield. Their military was shattered, their national confidence was broken, and their leaders faced a terrifying question: how do you rebuild a nation from the ground up? Their answer was radical, and it would change the world in ways no one anticipated. They would build an education system, but not a system designed to create thinkers or philosophers or innovators. What Prussia needed after Napoleon was something far more specific: obedient soldiers, productive factory workers, citizens who followed orders without question. People who showed up on time, did what they were told, and did not challenge the authority of those above them. The Prussian education model was built on three simple principles: compulsory attendance. Every child had to attend, no exceptions. Standardized curriculum. Every child learned the same things, in the same order, tested in the same way, and obedience to the teacher as absolute authority figure. The teacher was not there to inspire curiosity. The teacher was there to deliver content and maintain order. Questions were tolerated, challenges were not. By the 1870s, Prussia had defeated France and unified Germany. Their education system was credited as a major reason for their military and industrial success, and so it spread. By 1900, the Prussian model had been adopted across Europe, across the British Empire, and most significantly, across the United States of America. Not because it educated people well, but because it produced exactly what governments and industrialists needed most: compliance. Now we arrive at 1902, and the name that changes everything: John D. Rockefeller. At the turn of the 20th century, Rockefeller was not just the richest man in America. He was the richest private individual in recorded human history. His Standard Oil Company controlled 91% of oil production in the United States. He understood something that most people in 1902 did not. The new industrial economy needed workers, millions of them. Reliable, trainable, punctual workers who would show up to factories and offices, follow procedures, and not ask inconvenient questions about wages, ownership, or wealth. And so, in 1902, Rockefeller founded the General Education Board. His personal contribution was $180 million. In today's money, that is approximately $6 billion. $6 billion to shape American education. Now here is a part that most people have never seen. The founding documents of the General Education Board are publicly available. You can read them today. And in those documents, the mission of the organization is stated with remarkable clarity. These are their actual words, not a paraphrase, not an interpretation. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or of science. We are not to raise up from among them authors, educators, poets or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor will we cherish even the humbler ambition to raise up from among them lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have ample supply. And then the mission statement, the thing they actually wanted to achieve. The task we set before ourselves is simple. We will organize children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way. Read that again, slowly. The richest man on earth, funding your education with the stated, documented, publicly available goal of making sure that you stayed exactly where your parents were, not to raise you up, to perfect your compliance with the role you were already born into. So, let us talk about what they chose to leave out. 12 years of compulsory education, hundreds of subjects, thousands of hours of instruction, and yet not one lesson, not a single class period in 12 years was dedicated to the following. Number 1. How compound interest works. Compound interest is the mechanism by which the rich get richer and the poor get poorer simultaneously. When a wealthy person invests money, compound interest multiplies their wealth every year without them lifting a finger. When a poor person takes on debt, compound interest multiplies what they owe every year, whether they can afford it or not. It is the most powerful financial force in the world, and it was never explained to you. Number 2. How debt is designed. A standard 30-year mortgage on a £200,000 house will cost you approximately £350,000 by the time you finish paying it. You pay the price of the house nearly twice. This is not hidden. It is in the contract. But the contract assumes you understand how debt works. School never taught you. Number 3. How inflation works. Inflation is a silent tax. Every year that money sits in a standard savings account earning 1% interest, while inflation runs at 3%, you are getting poorer. Not in a dramatic way, quietly, consistently, year after year. Until one day you realize that the money you saved means less than it did when you put it there. Number 4. The difference between an asset and a liability. This is perhaps the single most important financial concept that exists. An asset puts money into your pocket. A liability takes money out. Most things that are sold to ordinary people as assets, houses, cars, consumer goods bought on credit, are liabilities. The wealthy understand this distinction from childhood. It was not in your curriculum. Number 5. How taxes actually work. Specifically, the legal ways in which wealthy individuals and corporations pay significantly less tax than ordinary workers. Not through fraud, through structures and systems that are legal, documented, and entirely inaccessible to people who were never taught they existed. Number 6. How financial markets work. The stock market, the bond market, investment vehicles of every kind, designed by and for people who already have capital. You were never given the vocabulary to engage with them, and without the vocabulary, the door stays closed. Number 7. How to negotiate. Your salary, your rent, your contract. The price of everything in your life is negotiable. But negotiation requires confidence, knowledge, and the belief that you are entitled to ask for more. School did not teach you negotiation, it taught you to accept what you were given. Not one of these in 12 years. Not once. But here is where it goes deeper than simple omission. It is not just that they did not teach you about money. They actively taught you specific beliefs about money that keep the system exactly as it is. Belief number one, that talking about money is rude. In most cultures shaped by this education system, asking someone what they earn is considered deeply inappropriate. Discussing your salary with colleagues is discouraged, sometimes explicitly forbidden in employment contracts. This silence is not a cultural accident, it is a structural protection. Wage inequality survives because workers do not compare notes. The moment employees start sharing salary information, inequality becomes visible, and visible inequality becomes a demand for change. The silence protects the system, not you. Belief number two, that wanting more money is greedy. Contentment is presented as a virtue. Ambition, particularly financial ambition in working-class communities, is culturally coded as something slightly shameful. Wanting more than your parents had is framed as overreaching. This belief is extraordinarily convenient for anyone who needs you to remain in your current economic position. Belief number three, that debt is normal. A mortgage is presented as the responsible path to security. Student loans are presented as a necessary investment. Car loans, credit cards, personal loans, all normalized. Presented as the infrastructure of adult life rather than what they actually are. Financial instruments designed by lenders for lenders that transfer wealth from borrowers to institutions over decades. Psychologists and sociologists call this manufactured consent, a term coined by Noam Chomsky. The system does not require guards or fences. It does not need to force you to stay in your place. It simply needs you to believe, genuinely, deeply believe, that the way things are is the way they have to be. And school is where that belief is installed before you are old enough to question it. What do you actually do with this information? Because knowledge without action is just a story you tell yourself. First, understand compound interest, not abstractly, specifically. Search a compound interest calculator online. Type in £1,000, 7% return, 30 years. See what number comes out. Then type in £10,000 of debt at 20% interest. See what number comes out. When you see those numbers, the abstraction becomes real. Second, learn the difference between an asset and a liability. Robert Kiyosaki defined it in 4 words. Assets, put money in. Liabilities, take money out. Go through your life and categorize everything you own or owe. The clarity that follows is often uncomfortable, but it is the beginning of something different. Third, start talking about money with friends, with colleagues, with people you trust. The discomfort you feel doing this is the installed belief resisting. Push through it. The conversation is more valuable than the awkwardness of having it. Fourth, read one book, just one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. Any one of these will undo more than 12 years of deliberate omission, not because they contain secrets, but because they give you a vocabulary that school never did. Fifth, question every financial decision from this point forward, not with paranoia, with curiosity. Ask who benefits from you making this choice. Is it you? Or is it someone whose business model depends on you not understanding what you are agreeing to? The system was built without your interests in mind, but understanding it is the first step to building something different. And the fact that you have watched this far, that you sat with this information for 15 minutes, means something. It means the belief that was installed in you is not as permanent as they needed it to be. Now I want to ask you something directly. Everything in this video is documented. The Prussian model is historical record. The General Education Board founding documents are publicly available. The financial concepts are mainstream economics. So here is the question. Do you think this was deliberate? Yes, the financial illiteracy of ordinary people was an intentional feature of a system designed by people who benefited from it. Or no, this was a series of historical accidents and cultural oversights with no coordinated intent. Comment your answer below, yes or no. Because how you answer that question reveals more about what you believe about power and institutions and your own place in the world than almost anything else. And I read every single comment. This is beyond stories. Real stories, hidden truths, endless curiosity. If this changed how you see something, share it with one person who needs to hear it. We will see you on the other side.